Hello students, welcome to my class. So in this video, I will be starting with the paper that is Bioinorganic Chemistry. So as chemist, you know that there are a lot of elements in the periodic table, different metalloids, non-metals, etc. But in this paper, we are studying how these elements are important for various bioforms that survive on Earth, like maybe plants or animals. Okay, so how they influence or how they are important for all these bioforms we'll be studying in this particular paper. So to begin with, if a healthy average, person who is weighing about 70 grams, more than half of his weight is because of accounted by the oxygen that is present in his body, and in his body or his or her body, in a very trace content, there will be different elements, majorly different metals, maybe like copper, zinc, manganese, iron, cobalt, etc., etc. So all these metals, they are present in very micro content, but even if they are present in a very small amount, they are very important for the survival of the human body, different life processes. Okay, so next is we'll be studying about classification of elements. These elements that are there, all the elements, how are they classified? How are they grouped into different groups? So elements can be classified into essential, trace, non-essential, toxic. Under this, what is important for us? Essential elements and non-essential elements. Okay, so essential elements are those which are like absolutely necessary for your life processes. These have to be there in your body, or else you cannot survive. Under essential elements, there are different classification, that is bulk elements, trace elements, ultra trace elements, and toxic elements. Okay, so essential elements are nothing but they are there in your body and they are absolutely necessary for your survival. Bulk elements, these are elements that are there in higher concentration. They're present in a large excess in your body. Example, sodium, potassium. So now you need to know the definitions as well as one, two, or three examples for this. Then trace elements, these are also necessary, but they are present in slightly lower amount, like around lesser than 10 milligram. Then it is ultra trace elements. These are also essential, but they are present in very very small amount, even lesser than the trace elements. And the last one is toxic elements. They are there in the body, but they are actually present in lesser amount, but they disturb some of the natural functions. But they are there, so you cannot avoid it. But they are toxic and they disturb some of the natural functions of the biological system. All right. The next classification, first one is essential elements, second one is non-essential elements. So as the name tells you, non-essential elements, they are absent, and they are the elements that they serve the same function, but they are not essential for your body process. It's not like if they're not there, you cannot survive. So such elements can be called as non-essential elements, which are not essential for your body processes or survival. So even if they're there, or if they're present in a very small amount, or even if they're absent, it does not make much difference to your body. Okay, and the next classifications, this is important, that is they once again classified as essential metals and beneficial metals. Okay, this question had also come once, so this is important. Essential metals, as I already said, they are absolutely necessary for your survival. And the living system, it cannot survive if these elements are not there. They will eventually lead to death. But beneficial metals, they are essential for your body's survival and for your life process. But what happens if they're not there? Your life process may get hampered. That is, you might get some deficiency or you might get some disease. So your body might not function normal, but it will not lead to death. It's not like, if it's not there, maybe long term, but in short term, if there is, deficiency of all of this, it will lead to some deficiency syndrome, but it will not lead to death immediately. So this is a difference between an essential metal and a beneficial metal. Beneficial is required, but it's not like if it's not there, you will die. Okay. So some of the examples are actually important. Essential metals are sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, etc. And beneficial metals can be lithium, vanadium, chromium, etc. etc. Okay. Then we will be moving on to some of the essential metals with example. So next, under essential elements, we are supposed to study about some of the important example. That is, each element you need to know four things about it. One is what are the food products which have that element, which are the food products that we are supposed to consume to in order to get that element. Second one is what is its function in the body, what exactly does it do in the body or where it exists. Third is what happens if you have that deficiency of that particular element. And fourth one is what happens if you have it in excess. So these 4 points should be known for you under each of the element. So starting with essential metals, I will start with calcium. Now, calcium, all of you know that it's present in our teeth and bones, correct? So, it is actually present in the phosphate form as a salt of phosphate. It is present in your bones and teeth, and also it is present in very small quantities, trace amounts in your cellular fluids. You know that in cell there are fluids, correct? So it is also present there in a small amount. After that, where do you derive calcium from? What are the food products you need to consume for calcium? You know that all these dairy products, that is your milk, cheese, and other than that, fish, eggs also have calcium content in them. What happens if we have a deficiency of calcium? The person will suffer from intestinal malabsorption. That is, you know that once the food is being digested, after we consume it, after it's digested in the stomach, it will pass through the small and large intestine, wherein there will be absorption of nutrients and minerals from that food, correct? So what happens if we have deficiency of calcium? That absorption will not take properly. Efficient absorption won't occur. So the person won't derive enough nutrients from the food he consumes. And having anything in excess is also a problem. So if you have excess of calcium in your body, what happens? It is a salt, correct? It is an insoluble salt, so it will get accumulated in your body, and this can lead to the formation of stones or hardening of your arteries, or even cataract disease of the eyes. Next, we are studying about magnesium. You know that magnesium is an extremely essential metal also for us in our body. It is present in a large amount in the earth's crust. It is not only essential for animals but also for plants, because plants, they have this pigment called as chlorophyll pigment that is used for absorption of sunlight and synthesis of food, because of which the plants survive, correct? So this magnesium, you can see there bottom, I've put the picture of complex. It is present as a complex in the chlorophyll pigment, that is magnesium porphyrin complex. It is present in the chlorophyll, so it plays a very important role in chlorophyll, okay, and in the functioning of chlorophyll. This, once again, we have to study about chlorophyll individually. That time you'll be studying more in more detail why magnesium is important, but now you have to remember that it is present in the chlorophyll pigment as magnesium porphyrin complex. Next, in our human body also, it is very much essential in different enzymatic reaction that is catalyzed by ATP, requires magnesium. This magnesium, whenever ATP is present, magnesium is present as a cofactor, so it is always essential for different reactions. Other than that, it is used for oxidative phosphorylation, DNA transcription, RNA function, protein synthesis, etc. Okay. And most of the magnesium, you know, it as calcium, it is also present in the bones, also in the intercellular fluids of the human. And the major source of magnesium is definitely your nuts, your walnut, badam, or different types of nuts. Then you have the seafood, fish and other things. All that is rich in magnesium. Your legumes, meat, etc. are all rich in magnesium. And deficiency of magnesium will cause you hypomagnesia. So next is potassium and sodium. Now, most of these metals, they are always present in your intracellular or extracellular fluid. Okay. Same way, potassium is also present in your intracellular fluid. And since most of this intracellular fluid is present in the muscles, so you can say that potassium is actually present in the muscles. Okay. So most of the potassium can be found in the muscles where there is the intracellular fluids. Okay. And the source from where you obtain potassium is majorly your vegetables, fruits, and also some of the dietary contents. So it is very rare that a person will have deficiency of potassium, because any normal person's regular diet will definitely have some vegetables and fruits, correct? Even if he does not consume enough dairy products, any person in an average day will definitely eat fruits and vegetables. So it is very rare that potassium content will be less in a person's body. But even if it's less, usually because it is present in your muscles, it will hamper some of the body processes, the cell processes, and also it might cause weakness or fatigue. Okay. Next is your sodium. You know that the main source of sodium for us is your salt, whichever salt you consume. Sodium chloride is your common salt that you consume. That is the main source of sodium for us in the body. And most of the sodium, it is present in the extracellular fluid, not intracellular. It is present in the extracellular fluid. That is 65% of sodium in your body is present in the extracellular fluid, and about 24% is present in your bones. Okay. And most of the sodium ion equilibrium, it is maintained in the kidney. You know that kidney is a main organ that maintains this electrolyte and water balance in our body. Water also goes there for filtration, whatever water we consume. So that sodium equilibrium is maintained in the kidney. And what else, if you have excess of sodium in your body, it can lead to hypertension, that is your elevated blood pressure. So you might have heard, whenever a person has like a very high BP problem, the person is instructed to reduce the amount of salt content that he takes. That is because salt is a major source, and high amount of sodium can lead to high elevated blood pressure. Okay. So next this was all about essential elements. Next we'll be discussing about trace elements. So what are trace elements? These are also essential for the body, but they are present in very less amount in a person's body, less than 1 milligram. Okay. So first example is your cobalt, that is present in around 1 milligram content in a human body. And this point is very important, it is a very major component of vitamin B12. Cobalt is one of the very important component in the vitamin B12 structure. Next is how, in which sources is it present? Majorly in all the fishes you will have cobalt, and other than that, even meat. So people who do not consume fish or meat, like vegetarians, might sometimes have a little deficiency of cobalt because that's not there in their diet, correct? And then it is also required for the metabolism of folic acids and fatty acids. The increased amount of cobalt in the body can cause hair loss or visual loss, or sometimes it can lead to heart attack or heart failures. Next is zinc and molybdenum. So zinc is present in different nuts, lobster, some of the seafood, meat or vegetables, mushrooms, etc. And it is an important component of insulin, and it is present in different protein and enzymes, like as a part of peptidases, enzyme peptidases, or different anhydrases. You will have zinc content in them. And the deficiency of zinc, that is, if it is present in your diet, if you consume less than 5 milligram of zinc, you might suffer diseases like dwarfism as in your body won't grow, delayed growth, and not proper growth will take place of the body. Dermatitis, that is you will have different skin problems, skin irritations, and there is loss of taste, and this will also affect the reproduction process because deficiency may lead to immature gonads or reproductive parts, and even wound healing of a person will not take place fast because of deficiency of zinc. And molybdenum, it is majorly present in a lot of green vegetables like lettuce, cucumber, and tomatoes, beans, and even your kidney beans, and different some of the nuts and lentils. Okay, and these are present in the metalloenzymes, that is enzymes that have metal content in them. So like xanthine oxidase or aldehyde oxidase, and these are also a part of enzyme sulfide oxidase. More about metal enzymes we'll be studying in this paper only further. And deficiency may cause gene mutation or decreased growth of bone, or your bone won't be strong enough, decreased bone mineral density, etc. And it is also present as an antagonist, that is present along with copper in uh, different components in the body. It is also present in different body biological reaction as an antagonist to copper. Next is chromium. Chromium is actually present in an organic complex, that is the glucose tolerance factor. It is present in this GTF, which has been isolated from yeast. And this GTF, it is very important as it functions along with insulin. That is, it is always present with the insulin. It is helping to bind insulin to the sites of action. And lesser amount of chromium in the body can lead to cholesterol, lowering of your serum cholesterol and triglycerides in your body. Also, some of the sources is definitely green beans, wheat or garlic, and apples and broccoli, and some other fruits and vegetables. Next, if you're exposed to excess of chromium, like chromium in the form of dust, it can lead to lung cancer. And also, if chromium is present in excess in your body, this can also affect during the DNA synthesis. That is, it can cause misreading during the DNA. So chromium, as I was telling, if there is if you inhale chromium in the form of chromium dust, it can lead to lung cancer or different lung problems. And even if it's present in higher amount in your body, it can cause you your DNA can be misread. So it can cause gene mutations. Next is we are studying about copper. Copper is also present in our diet through various meat, vegetables, fruits, nuts, etc. And its highest concentration is found in liver, kidney, heart, and brain. Now you might have seen this problem in some people, that is, they have this white hair, kinky kind of hair. That is because of copper deficiency. It is called as Meng's syndrome, usually present in men because it is an X-linked inheritance disorder. So you can see this, that people with copper deficiency, they'll have that silvery kind of hair on their body. Next, in some of the organisms, copper also acts as an oxygen carrier in the blood. So in such organism, the blood will be in blue color. And copper is also important in our body for maintaining skin strength of our skin and blood vessels. It also acts as antioxidant and pro-oxidant, and its deficiency will definitely cause you weakness, fatigue, loss of sleep, or your memory won't be very good, or you will face a lot of problem during learning because of lack of memory. The last one is iron. So most of iron is present, almost your 60 to 70%, it is present in your hemoglobin in the red blood cells. And the rest of it is present in muscle myoglobin. And there are some iron storage proteins that are ferritin and transferrin. So some of these are present in proteins and enzymes as well. But most important function of iron, that is 60 to 70% of it, is present in your hemoglobin, that is in the red blood cells. deficiency, definitely a lot of y'all, if you don't consume enough green vegetables and meat or seeds, etc., you will definitely get deficiency of red blood cells in your body, because of iron deficiency, correct? So this will lead to what? This can lead to anemia, that is deficiency of your red blood cells, which will also lead to vomiting, fatigue. You will get tired very fast, you cannot function very actively. Then sometimes collapsing, circulatory collapse, or your body is not very active enough to function throughout the day because of lack of your red blood cells in your body. Okay, and your immunity also will not be very strong. Next, sometimes if there is excess of iron in your body, that is, it will be deposited in your tissues and organs. This condition is called as hydrosis, wherein excess content of iron will be deposited in your tissues and organs. So in this topic we have discussed about different elements, what are the classification, and some of the examples of some essential and trace elements which you have to know, some of their functions, how do they, where are they present in the body, etc. In the coming topics we'll be discussing about active and passive transport and different methods of ion transport in the body. So till then, study well students, all the best, thank you, bye.